one of them will be on or both of them or something,
And
okay?
they have a presentation, like a slideshow that they put together,
Okay,
brief.
all right.
Um,
We're gonna postpone two until, August, because the maps are not ready.
Peter's working on it.
That's fine, that's fine. It's not a, shall we say, either a high priority item, and it's certainly not time sensitive. No. So, not a problem.
I was joking with Peter that we should give him the HC expansion maps. So he can work off of those because they're already zoomed.
Oh, no, Allison made those. Yeah, that's why I said we can have Allison make them.
Right?
Hold on, that's why I'm not sure what the.
Okay. Margie, did you watch the town council meeting last night by any chance?
No, I went to a surprise party for, Claire's mother.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was awesome, believe me, it was awesome.
I want to go to a party with you guys. That sounds fun.
That was much more fun than whatever you were.
Yeah. Well, this was an Old Harbor Task Force side note. Mark Emanuel put his name in for Old Harbor Task Force
Okay,
last night. And I don't know if he was serious or not, but I'm just letting you know.
give me his phone number and I'll follow up with him tomorrow.
Okay, I'll get it from Laurel.
Give it to me, or I might possibly have it, but I don't.
I do not have any extra copies, Renee. I didn't know I was covering until about 10 minutes ago in my.
Today, I have two copies.
There's only two things on it.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
this.
and we're.
Comp plan.
Number two is being postponed until August because the maps are not yet ready for us to look at.
Oh, okay.
For the
Cannabis.
either
Yeah.
100, 200, or 500, we don't know what we
Right.
want to do until we can see the maps. So that's.
You need like a donut cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually, anyway, it's not time sensitive. and-
Spirograph.
It's not, it's not a problem.
Right, right. Thank you.
And by the way, thank you for the coverage of the park.
Oh, you're welcome.
I loved it. The picture Freddie cutting it was just adorable. That, I got, nothing talked about any other picture but that one.
Right? It's true.
And he's actually young for scissor flipping, I think about it, you know?
Jungle Jim, he's nice coordinating.
Yeah. But when you think about being like 4 in kindergarten, the
Yes.
scissors you used to use and how much of a skill it was.
Is that, it was right there ready to help address
Right.
it. He had plenty of backup.
And like braces, you know.
I was there.
I'm so glad they dressed up,
I was impressed at how many people came.
right?
Yeah, and that doesn't count the 15 people or so who emailed me saying, for one reason or another, they were either off island or had another commitment.
Yeah, yeah,
Including some of my buddies right here.
and you sure lucked out with the
As
weather.
I said, we meet it by 1 minute. Thanks for. You got that. And the drops, as I turned around to start up the pathway.
Yeah.
But I was like, yes, 1 minute.
I would not.
All right, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, guys.
you need a gavel.
Okay. It's had many years of experience. I would like to call to order the New Shore Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, July 8th. Number 2 on the agenda, which has to do with the cannabis, is going to be rolled over until August because the maps are showing the various setbacks are not yet ready, and this is not a time sensitive item, so it's not a problem. Anybody got any questions on number 2 before we go back to the regular agenda? Okay. Number 1, comprehensive plan, introductions, existing condition assessment, data gathering, and launching a community survey. Robert Collins and Jim Reardon from Weston and Sampson. A, they will do an overview for the project schedule and the next steps. And B, they will discuss and act on the community survey questions. And Jen has asked specifically that we get that passed and such on today. So I will be happy to welcome Robert Collins and Jim Reardon. Would you guys introduce yourselves and let us know what we can do to help?
Great. Do you want to begin, Jim?
Sure, I can get us started.
Sorry, who assumed?
So I'm Jim Reardon, and that, of course, is Robert.
Okay,
All right. And I'm going to, oops, I was going to share something, and then my screen blanked out for a second here. Hold on. There we go. Back to it. All right. We have a brief presentation that that will help us through this, and we're sharing that. You should be able to see it. You can see it, and evidently you can hear me too, which is great. All right, great. So of course, we're here for the comprehensive plan update and the planning board kickoff meeting. And our agenda this afternoon for this presentation includes the following sort of key elements. A project introduction, which we'll talk about our team, our role, and project overview, comprehensive plan overview. So, excuse me, the purpose of a comprehensive plan, what it generally includes, so the contents, the approval process for it, project scope of work, schedule, and budget. And we'll be happy to share this presentation with you as well afterwards, if that's helpful. And public engagement, which will include community engagement strategy and outreach methods that we generally use. As part of that, it includes a little bit about the project website and the community survey, and then what we see as next steps, sort of upcoming milestones. So this is the project management team. So meet the team. Ashley Sweet was hoping very much to be here this afternoon. So she sends her regrets that she wasn't able to make it today. But you have here with you, you have myself, Jim Reardon, and I'll be the principal in charge on this, and Robert Collins, who will be the assistant project manager to Ashley Sweet. Robert brings a ton of great experience doing plans like this with other with other communities, excuse me. He has about 30 years of this type of experience, and so he'll be a very strong assistant project manager to assist Ashley. Our role. So we see ourselves as having kind of a four-part role. First is to serve as your planning consultant. So planning consultant to your community throughout the comprehensive update process. We'll be with you every step of the way, of course. Questions that you have, we'll seek to answer those and give you the best feedback and support that we can as we lead you on community engagement, including surveys, public open houses, and planning board presentations, such as the one that we're doing today. Drafting all the elements of the plan and delivering those to you for review and then subsequent approval, of course. And there is a pretty structured approval process for community comprehensive plans, which you may know about already, but we'll go over that a little bit too later on. And we'll coordinate with town staff, and of course you folks as the planning board, you really lead the interface between town staff and the community to make sure that the plan really reflects your local priorities and New Shoreham's character. So what is a comprehensive plan? And some of this you may already be familiar with, but we like to just kind of go over it again so that everybody's working from the same sheet of music, if you will. So it provides guidance to the community, a balance, policy for the community, in a way of providing services and appropriate land development policy. Promotes democratic planning process and identity. It helps to strengthen your identity, and it's really a document that sets in place the things about your community character and sense of place that you want to maintain. So as guidance, it provides long-term growth. These are 10-year plans with a 20-year planning horizon. So you're looking out 20 years, and then every 10 years, you're supposed to renew them. And then development for management of infrastructure and public facilities as well. So it also gets into community services to a significant extent too. But it's really trying to, balance the conflicts land use conflicts that may come up between competing interests, and also to make sure that your programs are really reflective of community needs and community desires. What's in a comprehensive plan? So there's sort of the guts of it, the plan contents, and then there's really what we see as being the key actionable elements of it. And, traditional comprehensive community plan has a vision up front, and then a lot of analysis kind of in the middle. And then at the back of the plan, it'll include an implementation section, goals, policies, and actions. The actions are really the meat of what it is that you plan to do over the next 10 or 20 years. And then they boil up to policies that you may have on, various elements of the plan, such as facilities and the environment and land use planning, et cetera. And then overarching, it has goals for each of these sections. So going over the plan contents a little bit more. So again, there's a community vision statement generally up front in a plan. Doesn't have to be exactly this way. We can reorder things to, whatever extent that you guys may want for your community. But, sort of the tradition is to have the vision statement up front, a community profile and data analysis. And that sort of sets the, if you will, the foundation for what's going to be included in the plan. Analysis of trends, estimates, and future projections. So where's your community likely to go in terms of land development, growth, population over the next few years? What are the demographics likely to be like based on the trends that we've seen in the last 20 or 30 years? And then there are certain required subject matter areas that a plan covers. So required plan topics, and they include land use, housing, transportation, natural resources, open space and recreation, economic development, historic and cultural resources, services and facilities, climate change and resilience, agriculture, and energy. And some of these can be sort of woven together if you desire to do it that way, or they can be separate, sort of, if you will, standalone sections. But all comprehensive plans have to address these topics, at least to some extent. And then, as I mentioned, there's an implementation plan where the goals, policies, and actions are. And then sometimes maps, graphics, and data visualizations are spread out, so they're integrated into the plan, which is typically the way we prefer to see it, because it's, it's just easier for a reader to absorb what's going on in a lot of cases. But some folks like to put them at the back of the plan. So you might have a map atlas at the end of the plan that has all the maps in there, and various other elements like that. And then not necessarily mentioned in this slide, but there are often appendices that go along with this too. So information about how your community survey went, the results of that, maybe meeting notes from each of the meetings that we held. And one thing that I neglected to ask at the beginning of this that I meant to was for this planning board meeting, we sort of anticipate, most communities do it this way, that you guys have a process for taking meeting minutes. But we wanted to ask you whether you needed us to provide any kind of a meeting summary as well, or just input that you might include in the meeting minutes. So I'll take a break here to ask that question.
How do you feel? I would just should have them give us a summary.
Yeah, that's fine.
We would be happy to have a summary.
Okay. All right. Then we'll put that
Yeah.
together for you. All right. So again, this is basically what's in a comprehensive plan. Moving on to the next slide. Here's the plan approval process. So there's a local side to this and a state side to this. On the local side, we provide drafts to you that get reviewed by the planning board and then aired out at a meeting such as this that typically involves the public and gathers input on the drafts. And then we compile all that together over the course of the project into a comprehensive community plan. And we bring that comprehensive plan to your planning board public hearing. Sometimes communities hold one, sometimes a couple, to get formal feedback on the plan. We build in whatever comments may have come from that process. Assuming the plan looks good to you folks in the planning board, you would make a recommendation to elevate it to the town council. The town council would hold again a public hearing, and from that point, the information that gets gathered from that town public hearing, the comments that come in from that, as well as any public review periods that you maybe run through your website, we build that into a final comprehensive plan that then goes to the state for review. So 3 steps at the local level, 3 steps at the state level. So the town submits the plan to the state, and that goes to the Division of Statewide Planning. Statewide Planning does a coordinated review with other departments in the state, DOT, DEM, various others, to get their feedback and comments. And then the state makes a determination. So they provide those comments back. They get built into the plan, through a comment process. And then, assuming that those comments weren't highly substantive, then we would just make those amendments, and with the advice and consent of the planning board, forward it again for a final determination. If there's more extensive comments that maybe need to go back to a hearing process, we would work with you on additional local hearings. But generally speaking, it'll go, the comments that come back from statewide planning will go into the plan, and then the plan will go back to statewide planning for their final review and approval. The role of the planning board in this is to work with town staff and to provide direction throughout the plan development process, review draft chapters, and provide feedback to us as your consultants, Weston and Sampson, to incorporate in, and encourage public participation and outreach within the community. Project scope. So we have 8 elements to our scope of work. They include project management and administration, existing conditions, assessment and community profile, community engagement, community vision and goal setting, development of the plan elements, mapping and data visualization, draft and final comprehensive plan, and then support of or adoption support. So I'll go into these in a little more detail now. So of course, the project management, to some extent, that's kind of what we're doing now, this kickoff meeting, ongoing coordination with town staff, and monthly progress reporting. So the resulting deliverables for each of these, of course, is listed underneath. So that's monthly status report and meeting materials. Existing conditions assessment and community profile is the second task. So this involves research and data gathering, covering demographics, land use, housing, transportation, infrastructure, natural resources, economic conditions, et cetera. So this is where we pull the information about what you have going on currently in your community, and build that into a document that's essentially a report of, where things stand today. Community engagement. So this includes project website, community survey, 3 open houses 5 planning board meetings, a 6th one if we include the kickoff meeting today. Deliverables, which include a survey report. So we'll do a summary of the survey information that we receive, and we'll pull that together for your review. Open house materials and meeting summaries, such as the one that we're going to do today. And then 4th task is community vision and goal setting. So we develop a community vision statement and goals through the planning board review and community input. The way this generally works is we'll put together a draft. We'll work with your planning staff to make sure that they feel like whatever we draft aligns with what would work for you folks. And then we'll vet it with you. We'll vet it with you at a subsequent meeting like this one. And from that, we'll have a vision statement and goals that we can pull together and bring to community engagement elements, get input from the community, and then update those visions and goals as is seen fit by you folks and your planning staff. Developing plan elements. So all these materials will kind of go together in individual chapters for each of the topic areas that I mentioned earlier. Mapping and data visualization. So maps that support each of the various, elements that go into the comprehensive plan, and supporting data visualizations for inclusion in the plan as well. So there may be various supporting graphics that, in addition to maps that are intended to, make it easier to understand the material that we put in each of the elements of the comp plan. And then draft and final comprehensive plans. I think that's, fairly apparent what those things would be. So you compile all the different elements that we've drafted, pull that together into a single planning document that can then be reviewed by yourselves and the general public, town council. We get feedback, and through that feedback process, then finalize the plan for submission to the state. And then, of course, the adoption support. And we kind of talked about that already. So that includes the various hearings that you have at the local level, as well as support through the approval process at the state level. This is our schedule. It's a 15-month schedule. Started in May when we were first selected and goes through next July. And it includes, of course, today's kickoff meeting and, the prior kickoff meeting that was done with town staff. And it carries through the various elements in the plan. And you can see this laid out in our proposal. So as not to sort of burden the meeting with too much detail. I'm not going to go over each of the individual tasks on this, and unless there's something in here that you want me to review. But major milestones include launching the survey in the next couple of weeks, so in mid-July, September open house, a November open house. So this is where we would start to get community input directly, holding workshops with the community. Reviewing the draft elements of the plan, sort of the final draft elements of the plan in January and February. Another open house in April, and then adoption support in the June-July timeframe of 2027. This lays out the budget. And of course, the bottom line on this, I think you already knew, is $118,000, $119,000, or just short of that, which sounds like a pretty large sum. But when you start to see it broken down by task like this, you can see that it's a pretty efficient budget. So for what is essentially a year and a quarter, year and a half long project, there's a fair amount that goes into it. If there are questions about this, we can take those later. but I just wanted to lay this out again, remind folks of what was in the proposal. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Robert for you to go through the next few slides.
Great, thanks, Jim. Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to meet you, and I'm looking forward to working with you throughout the process. As Jim mentioned at the beginning, my name is Robert Collins, and I am AICP planner with about 30 years of experience, and I'll be assisting Ashley throughout the project and focus primarily or a lot on the community engagement piece. So if there's no initial questions about the other stuff that Jim was reviewing over about the overall process, I'm going to kind of, take us through the public engagement plan. So the public engagement plan that Jim kind of alluded to already, but I'm going to again look at it in more detail, is it's kind of combined with a bunch of different types of activities to make sure that we're engaging both, in person or virtually with the planning board, but also the community through open houses and community surveys, but making sure that there's also information being shared virtually through the project website and through other outreach activities. So specifically for planning board meetings, including today's kickoff, we have 6 dedicated meetings to be to meet with you, both 3 virtually and 3 in person over the next year process. We're also proposing 3 open houses throughout the process. One, as Jim mentioned, is going to be coming up in September. That will coordinate with you and make sure that the word is getting out, and town staff is also helping with that tremendously. But the first open house type of activity is going to be focused on a project kickoff with the community, and also sharing some initial survey results and kind of, looking for areas that we need to find out more information because maybe we didn't get conclusive information from the survey. In November, the open house will be focused on starting to frame in that vision based on the information that we've received back from the community profile and the survey. And then in the early or mid to late spring of next year, we will then have another workshop where we kind of present the draft plan with more specifics about the goals, the strategies, and the action steps so that the community can kind of give their input and recommendations and suggestions as we move forward to before we go into the adoption process. We're also going to talk very specifically this afternoon about the survey and also the project website. And the community survey is basically an initial opportunity for the community, for us to take the pulse of the community and see what some of the most important issues are and where the community kind of stands on those issues. And we're going to talk about that real specifically in a minute so that we can really get that survey launched. The project website is also something that we're wanting to get up and running very quickly. So we're going to kind of review that and get your concurrence on that. The project website is basically the information hub for the duration of the project. And it also is a living document. So when we initially upload it and make it available through the town's website, it's going to be something that we're going to be adding to throughout the process. Okay, Jim, you can go to the next slide now. Okay, so what's on the screen right now is a screenshot of the project website, kind of on the left side. It's kind of basic, and we tried to match the colors and the themes of like the town's website currently. In the green box, you can see that there's going to be different tabs that people would click on when they go to the website. So there's the home tab, which is pretty much what's being shown right now. But then there will be a tab for getting involved, and that's where you'll find information about all the community engagement activities, both upcoming and past. Then there will be the planning documents tab where people will be able to click on and look at not only like the existing comprehensive plan, other relevant documents that are being shared with us to include, but then as drafts of the plan start to come out, things like the vision statement and individual chapters, they can start to be posted here for the public to be able to see them. Maps will also have a tab. There might also be some engagement activities that we may need to do throughout the project. And folks can click on that tab and find out. And then lastly, right now we have a tab just to make to allow people to go back to the town's website. But this will basically be the the project hub throughout the whole entire project. If you go to the next screen, Jim, there's just like, it kind of shows some of the other, like what's on those tabs. So for instance, on the left side of the screen is what is currently going to be under the Get Involved. And you can see that there will be a link for the public survey, also for public workshops, and then also for questions and comments. This will kind of expand as we move through the process, but most importantly, and the reason why we need to get the website kind of up and running as soon as possible is because this is where people will be able to go to click on to take the survey. And so before the survey launches, which is hopefully going to be in the next week or so, we need to make sure that this website is up and running. I guess before we go into the survey, is there any questions or comments or suggestions that you have about the website? Yes, go ahead.
I think we have a couple of people who have questions, so let me start with Sosha, and then I'll go to Matt.
Actually, I had a question for the earlier presentation. At what point will the planning board have an opportunity to give you suggestions for questions in the survey, as well as suggestions for topics in the comprehensive plan? Because the reason I'm asking that is I think that we have quite a few opinions on that.
Well, for the survey, I can answer that first, and then maybe Jim, you can go back to the overall subjects. But the survey, we're going to talk about that next, and we're going to go through a very detailed discussion about the survey.
And then I think the question was having a little trouble hearing it, but I think the question was related to when the planning board would have input on various elements, the chapters of the comprehensive plan. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
And my question, the two tie in together. In other words, I feel that there are some topics that are left out in the survey. So I don't want people then to think that those things will not be covered in the comprehensive plan.
okay, so as far as the survey goes, I'll let Robert speak to that a little bit more. But as far as the comprehensive plan itself goes, there'll be a variety of opportunities for input. So one of the key ways that the planning board will have input is through the 6 planned meetings that we have, the 3, in person and 3 virtual. And there'll be, for lack of a better way to put it, agenda set for what subject matter areas will be covered in each of those meetings, so that you'll know in advance what to expect, and you'll have input throughout that process. We'll also deliver drafts to you so that you'll be able to review the drafts and be able to give us written comments if you'd like to do that. And then, of course, all the regular sorts of opportunities that the community might have to provide input. The planning board will also have opportunity there too. So I think there'll be a variety of opportunities. I don't know if there's additional questions about how you would have input, or any other questions about this particular process.
No, thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, Matt?
Robert, this question is referring to your first slide. So this is.
We're having a hard time hearing. Are you able to speak into the microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, Robert, this is in regards to your first slide. So I'm kind of thinking of this as like a data input and data output, and protecting the integrity of the data is probably the most important step. And I think that was reading that the survey, and it's my first time actually dealing with this, because I just joined the thing for this year. But initially, I understood this data as coming from community, but I think it's very hard to define what a community is, the parameters of community, and opening it up to a seasonal population. I think is also complex, because then you have people who might only be here for 1 week. Anyone who is seasonal and season. So is there a way to standardize the data that we're getting by creating parameters around who's actually responding to this survey? And I just say that because the year-round population is so much smaller than the seasonal population. So I think it's very easy to kind of have that data represent people who may only be here for 2 weeks out of the whole year.
So it sounded like that was, oh, I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just gonna ask, not as much how is that tracked, but are we interested in having the survey have some sort of parameter on what you should participate?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that we'll talk about in a minute, but there's about 12 about you or demographic type of questions that the survey asks. And that type of question that gets asked is, are you a seasonal resident? Are you a year-round resident? Are you a visitor? And so therefore, the reason why we embed that into the survey is so that we can do cross tabulation for you and supply you with information about how the different groups responded. The important thing to remember is that this is the town's plan. And, we're here to basically give you guidance and to help supply information. But ultimately, you will be directing us as to, how we interpret the data and things like that. But we try to supply you with as much, there will be almost 100 different points that will be in the community profile, for instance. They're all different like tools for us all to consider as we start to put together the plan. And obviously the state has very specific, state statute requirements for things that we have to look at and cover. But then obviously New Shoreham is a very unique community with a small year-round population, but then a large seasonal population. So those are some nuances that, we'll all be kind of investigating together throughout the process.
So essentially, we'll be able to see this person A answer this question, and we can also see that person A is either a resident versus a seasonal resident.
I mean, are you talking about like for the survey, like will you, because we're going to be giving you like a survey, the survey will be conducted through a platform, SurveyMonkey. We can also make paper copies available and then insert them in. But the one thing that's nice about using that platform is it gives us out a really nice report of raw data. And we will be sharing that raw data with you in its entirety. But from that, we will also prepare like a summary report that will kind of give what were the key issues or key focuses of the survey. And a part of that will be the cross tabulation with, how did potential year-round residents versus seasonal residents, how did they respond differently for you to consider? And we can analyze that, how in any ways that you may want. And that's why we'll be meeting with you after the survey is kind of completed to kind of get your full opinions about the survey data and how you may want it to, be further cross-tabulated for your personal understanding.
Oh, yeah, Mary, and then we'll go to Gail.
Thanks for coming today. It's really helpful to get started. I know it's been on our mind for a while. We have that whole top waiting for you. I just had a couple of basic questions. First, advertising for the September open house. Have we started that yet? Because we did have a lot of people leaving in September that are here to see really and would be interesting. So I just wondered when you with assistants that are going to come to town, are going to advertise for September so people can save the date and come.
I'm sorry, could I ask you to maybe pull the mic a little closer? It's kind of hard to make out what you're saying there.
Yeah, that's okay, it's just about.
Way better.
Your first, date, when are you going to advertise for this other community discussion? So, first date call.
The first, are you talking about the date for the first open house?
Yeah, your first open house in September, just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that the date has not been selected, but we're working with town staff to kind of target some dates, and then we will, they will be then coming back and sharing those dates with you to kind of confirm what dates you would like to move forward with it.
Okay,
Yeah, at this point, we have the month targeted, but or selected more or less, but not the specific day.
okay.
And that will be, yeah. And
I
it's,
think what the board is interested in making sure is that, you do it as early in September as possible, so that we can include seasonal residents if they so wish, because many of them leave, obviously, with the school year opens. So having it advertised ahead of time, they'll know that, the state will occur, they can come back if they wish, or send, comments or what have you. But the sooner in September rather than later, would probably get more seasonal residents that stay into the first part of September.
And also, as Marty said, to let people stay that date as early as possible.
would you like to select, I mean, like maybe toss out a couple dates that you would prefer to have it, and then we can share that with the, we can discuss that further with the town staff to find out if that date is in fact not conflicting with other town events, and then make sure that there's a spot available. But I think we're open for you to make a suggestion on dates.
Yeah, so I just follow up with that, the way the schedule's currently laid out, and it doesn't have to stay this way. The way it's currently laid out, the first open house would be in September. I don't know if that's early enough for you folks. If you'd like to move it earlier than that, we're open to it.
Margie, can I pop in here for a minute?
Yes.
Thank you. We are trying to schedule this along with a few other similar type open houses that are all looking at the late August, early September time period. So I expect we'll settle on the date within the next 10 days to 2 weeks, but we're trying to be really careful about not cannibalizing other important sessions of a similar magnitude. So I think we will send that around to the board when we have a few options just to get a final sign off. But you should see that from the staff through Jen shortly. And back to Maddie's question, one of the most important things I see as a planning board function in this process is to make sure that we're encouraging, particularly our year-round voices, to participate in making sure that residents have an opportunity that fits their style of communication to get their thoughts back to the board and to Weston and Sampson and to the town, so that we're incorporating those perspectives, whether it's through a survey, through an open house, through a workshop, or whatever medium feels most comfortable for them, and really marshaling that year-round community so that those perspectives are captured. So hopefully the planning board's ready for that challenge.
Okay, thank you. I think that clarifies it. Galen, you had a question?
I have one more question about.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Pardon.
Just speaking from, the public and interested in sea level rise issues and climate resilience issues. Are there several core themes that you will go through with in terms of how we are responding to climate change and sea level rise resilience, and also how that ties into other aspects of planning and data gathering in particular? Where will you find your data, or where will you find out for sea level rise, and to make suggestions of the community to be more resilient in the next 5 to 20 years?
Okay, so it sounded like the question was, how is resilience incorporated in the plan, and particularly related to sea level rise? Did I get that right?
Yeah, the data input, where did that come from? To help make best decisions.
Yeah, so there's a specific climate change and resilience chapter that's required now as part of comprehensive plans. It used to be an optional section. In the last couple of years, it's been made a requirement. We've worked with communities that have done this a couple of different ways. One common way to do it is to include most or virtually all of the climate change resiliency aspects of your planning into a single chapter. Another way to do it is to sort of spread it throughout the plan. Because each of the elements is impacted by climate change and resiliency. And I think, the idea of spreading it throughout the plan kind of lends itself to really weaving climate change elements such as sea level rise or heat island effect or any of that sort of thing into the overall planning. And then a third way to do it is to kind of have both. So the way when I've worked with communities before on this, the way I've typically done it is we build a resilience chapter, we build a climate change chapter, and once we've got that pretty well built, and we've got the other chapters pretty well put together too, we look at where climate change, certain actions or policies or goals related to climate change might overlap with other topic areas in the chapters, and we call them out, maybe with call out boxes or other kinds of annotation. We can do it visually, we can do it with bold text. I mean, there's a variety of ways you can do it, and sort of embed those ideas within each of those chapters, but then have kind of a summary chapter, if you will, that kind of explains it all together. And I think that's kind of a good way to do it, because not only does it help people see how each of these actions might impact each of the other different chapters, it also creates kind of a nice tapestry, if you will, of overall climate change and resilience planning in a single place where somebody can look at it and say, like, okay, what's the town doing for resiliency? Oh, it's in chapter 9, and you flip open chapter 9 and there it all is, or most of it is. So we're open to doing it different ways, but those are kind of the three major options, I guess. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we.
Hi, thank you. My question simply is, will the project website have a link on the town website?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how people will find it on the town website. Okay.
Yeah, so let me get to that slide. So, Robert, I don't know if you might like to explain this a little bit more.
Well, I mean, we kind of talked about that already, but this is like a screenshot of what the website will look like.
Yeah,
and it
my
is
eyes aren't good enough to see the small writing. I was just, you did explain that the project website, you could go back to the town website. I just wasn't sure if it all started at the town website.
Yeah, like there will be like a link on the town's website that will take you to this, and then you can like toggle back to the town's website.
Perfect. And then I have two points to make on the survey, but I can wait till we get to that one. I did have one question about how the comprehensive plan. I'm assuming you're working from the current comprehensive plan and adding or changing what have you, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, obviously the existing comprehensive plan plays a major role in like the update. We definitely bring a lot of that forward, especially like when it comes to goals and strategies that are still relevant. Obviously it will be kind of, as we work through the process with you, we will be kind of probably wrapping it into like a new package. But major parts of the existing plan will be moving forward.
Okay, good, because we thought that plan was a very good one, and there are lots of things in there that we're very, shall we say, proud of. So I'm glad that you're going to do that.
Yeah, we see prior plans as very much informing plans that we put together for communities. So you know, the things that you really liked in the prior plan, we
Mhm.
can certainly move those forward and build them in. The stuff that you think might have aged out a little bit and maybe isn't as relevant anymore, or for some other reason might have changed. You know, we can work with you to figure out how to make adjustments for that.
Good. Two things while I think about it. Just for your information, about half of us have been through the planning process before at least once. Three of us, and I can't remember whether Chris had or not, either three or four of us have not been through it's the first time around. So your group is about half and half as far as experience goes. So just keep that in mind. And second of all, when we're going to advertise all this, I want to make sure that you know that we have a Black Island bulletin board, which either Amy or Jen can tell you about. That would also be useful to advertise the link that they should go to on the town website to weigh in and fill out the forms. So I just wanted to say that before I forgot. Okay, so she had one more question then,
I just wanted to add to the
Claire.
advertising, because I have a similar comment.
okay, good. Hey, Brian, say,
Would you possibly consider an insert in the utility bills so that people have the website right there and they will definitely see the insert. Whereas they may not, you know, I mean, it's another option for being notified.
Claire had a
Mhm.
question.
yeah,
I know we've done that, we've asked for that before and asked for another committee. And billing is done out of house, it's not done here in the town hall, so there was a fee for us to add and insert into that bill, because it would have to go to the agency that does the billing and county for, and the billing for the town. For that.
well, I believe they have an expense account, so at least now they're aware that there is a possibility that they can look into that. And keep that in mind. Claire, you make your hand up?
Yes, can you guys hear me okay? Jim and Robert, can you guys hear me?
I think we can.
Yes.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I think it's a question because we can't hear you.
Before I ask a simple question, you guys could in fact hear me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you all so much for this, taking up this process, and it's like a lot of work has already been done, so thank you. I think you were asking for some comments about the website and sort of this kicking off process. And I'm one of those people who hasn't been through this process before, and something that I myself would find helpful, and I would imagine someone who doesn't come to planning board meetings all the time would find helpful, is something about what the comprehensive plan is on the website, and just brief, very succinct, what having a comprehensive plan means for the town. Obviously, I know it's required and all that, but you know, it allows us to apply for grants, it allows us to rewrite all these ordinances, it gives guidance for all those things, just so people understand why we have this, and I'm not missing some things, some really important reasons why we have comprehensive. But I think that would be something important to share in all this advertising to put on this website. So that people understand why they're being asked these questions. So that was one of my main points of all this. I do have a number of survey questions, but it sounds like we're gonna get deeper into that later, is that correct?
Yeah, are you asking if we're gonna go into the review?
Yeah, I have some more specific questions,
Yeah.
but.
That's our next item.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I mean, and I think that, you know, for the website, on like the homepage, or maybe we can add an additional task of like, you know, what is a comp plan and why is it important? And I think we have some examples of that, but again, the website, we want to get it up and running. But it's an organic document, or a living document, I should say. So therefore, you know, as you know, it gets up and running, if there's things that you want to add or make suggestions, we can make changes, you know, while it's while it's live because it's a living website. So we can certainly, and because it's going to be growing, but if there's things that are missing that you'd like to add once you see it up and running, please, reach out to town staff and they'll relay that to us, and then we can make those edits or adjustments.
Yeah, I also thought you made a really great point about the importance of a community comprehensive plan in terms of state grants. That without an approved comp plan, the community essentially becomes less eligible for certain kinds of state grants. And so that makes it really important. It's also really important because it really lays out for your community in a way that everybody can see what's important to your community and how you plan to move that forward over the next 10 to 20 years. And the third element, I think, of a comprehensive plan that is really vital and important is that it communicates with the state and with state departments what it is that is the policy of your community and how that integrates with state policy, so that the state doesn't tread too heavily on your toes and what it is that you want as a community. It sort of prevents them from doing that, through the approval process and through state law.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, if there's no more specific questions on what we've covered so far, I guess we just want to make certain that the website with, as we've kind of laid it out, but as we'll continue to evolve it, meets with your okay, so that we can finalize it with town staff and then get it posted. So if there's no objections to that, we'll assume that it's okay for us to move forward with this version. And then we'll look forward to getting your comments as you see it posted. Does that sound okay?
That sounds fine.
Okay. Well, Jim, then I guess if we could
You want to talk about the survey?
Yeah, if we could advance to the survey, which is
By the way, are you all going to send us a copy of this presentation?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. It's fresh in my mind right so that I have to admit it by next week. I will have a chance to go back and look at it together. That would be even better.
Okay, yep.
That's great.
Yeah,
Robert, you wanted to start from this slide, or do you want me to bring up the Word
no,
document?
this slide. Yeah, and town staff has the presentation, so they can forward it to you immediately after this at this meeting or tomorrow or whatever's appropriate.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And I will say before we did the presentation, as I was reviewing it and getting ready for it, I made 2 minor updates, which will forward to you folks as well.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so as we indicated from the very beginning, we want to talk very specifically about the community survey. I'm going to kind of give kind of an overview, and then we're going to kind of walk through a document to really kind of get your concurrence on the various questions that we're going to be asking. And it's important that we kind of come to that conclusion with you tonight so that we can, in fact, make those final changes and then get the survey ready to get to launch and get the word out about it within the next week or so. For the reasons that some of you have already mentioned, we really need to get it out early so that we can capture some of the seasonal population that's there now and through August. But the survey will likely remain open into September so that, we can also make sure that the year-round residents have enough time to make sure that they're getting into the survey. One thing that we will note when we launch it is we will probably kind of indicate that the survey is going to be open for a certain amount of time. It might be a shorter window than what we're talking about, but that's also to kind of entice people to take the survey, more quickly rather than putting it off. But what we'll do is we'll have a series of several social media blitzes and things like that about the survey or email notifications. And so once we probably get to about that month time frame or 3 week to a month time frame, we'll set out another notification series of notifications, and then we'll probably indicate that it's being extended into September. We have found that, if you kind of say that the survey upfront is going to be open for like 2 months, that people kind of put it off. So it's just a little trick on our part to try to get people to take it as quickly as possible, but we will leave it open for as long as you would like it to be open, and we'll continue to like kind of notify about that. So there's kind of 3 points that we want to make about the survey. And as we kind of then get in and taking a look at the example document that we have a little bit more carefully. The first is that we have, along with talking with town staff, is that we have laid out a survey that includes 25 questions to be considered that kind of cover all the typical subjects of a survey. But then it also includes 12 like about you or demographic questions that we then put at the end of the survey that are optional, but we hope that people will in fact respond to them so that we can then do some of that cross tabulation that we talked about. One being very important about whether they're, a year-round resident or a seasonal resident or a visitor. And we will talk about those individually. The second thing that's important to mention, well, first is that, the very first point was that we need to launch it as soon as possible. The second is that we've kind of laid out a survey, as I've mentioned. And then last, we want to make sure that there's, we want to talk with you a little bit about the survey that was conducted last year by the Block Island Land Trust, because we know that they covered some subjects in that survey that was just a year ago that are also relevant to the comprehensive plan and our survey. And we have a couple of options. We can either repeat and just continue along with like our survey as kind of being presented so that we're covering all the subjects, and maybe we'll see if people's opinions have changed, or maybe they've gotten stronger, or just that they're different. Or we can potentially modify our survey to take in consideration those comments that came in last year, or those subjects specifically related to conservation type of subjects, because some people might have specifically taken the land trust survey thinking that it was focused on open space, natural resources, and conservation and those types of things. There was 131 residents that took that, and we do have those results. And regardless, we will make no mention of that survey and our survey in like the opening statement. We will include those results in like our full tabulate, like when we talk about engagement activities, we will include kind of a discussion about that in the final plan. And then again, we can cross-tabulate some of those results with our new survey. So kind of like moving forward, again, we've kind of laid out 37 questions total that include those 12 about you questions. But if we somewhat modify the survey to take in consideration what happened last year with the land trust survey, we might be able to reduce it by a couple of questions or potentially further, but that's what we want to talk with you about. Okay, Jim, can you go to the next slide?
Yep.
Okay, so this pretty much summarizes what I just said. So what we want to talk about, and we're going to open up the document that I believe you have a copy of as well, but we want to, take a look at each one of the 25 questions very carefully, get your input, whether it's a question that you want to ask, or whether you have additional items that you want to ask. That's kind of what we're going to talk about. But we also want to factor in, notations related to the survey from last year to see if we might want to modify our survey in any way, because we don't want to necessarily be duplicative, or maybe we'll answer the questions in a little bit different fashion. So that's pretty much what this slide is kind of summarizing. So with that, Jim, can you switch to the actual document that actually has the survey questions in it.
Cool.
And I believe you all should have a copy of this document
Yes, we
in
do.
your packet. So you can like read along as we kind of open that document up. Okay, so to kind of explain this and how we're going to go through this particular document is that the survey questions that were proposed, those 37 questions that includes the 25 specific comp plan questions along with the 12 about you questions are on the left side. So if you went through the document completely and you just looked at the left side, those would be potentially the questions that we would ask.
And Robert, I don't mean to interrupt, but can folks see this? And I know you have a copy of it as well, but is this visible enough?
Not that I can.
No. No. We all have copies, but we cannot read it on the screen. It's too small.
Okay. Would it help if I zoomed in a little bit or not that much because I don't know, just too many words.
I feel like we all have copies.
I think since we all have copies, you probably don't need it.
Yeah. And just stop me at any point if you're not following along or you're not seeing it in your copy.
Sure.
So
Yeah, if anything that's changed from what you gave us originally, then that might be a good thing to zoom in on. Yeah, that's better. Not perfect, but definitely better.
okay.
Okay.
So-
You may have a few words, but I can't read the whole thing.
There we go. I can make it slightly bigger and keep the whole thing, I think.
There we go. I made it a little bigger.
Okay, that is bad. That is bad.
Okay.
Okay. So as you follow along with your handout, what we're going to do is we're going to go through these in each one of the broad categories. So the broad categories are what is like in that blue bar that kind of goes up, or the light blue bar that goes across. And there's 10 different survey categories. So they range from, and then again, these are following along with the kind of the subjects that the comprehensive plan covers that we've talked about. That Jim kind of covered in the beginning of the presentation, but they include, we're going to talk about community priorities as one, then we're going to talk about housing, the housing questions. Then the next category is land use and development, followed by open space and recreation, natural, historic, and cultural resources. You don't have to necessarily scroll through them, Jim, but it's
Yeah.
okay. We'll go through. That's why I was kind of just talking about them up front to
Yep.
indicate.
Back up to
Then there's kind of like natural, cultural, and historic resources. Then natural hazards and climate change questions. Then transportation and circulation questions, followed by town services and facilities. Then it goes wraps up by talking about the visioning kind of question that is usually included in the survey to give us input on that, like what our vision is going to be. And then the last section 10 is about the demographic or the about you, the survey taker questions. So we're going to kind of go through and talk about them kind of broadly, but within each one of these categories. And then as we go through each question or each category, we'll also indicate to you to clarify like what was asked last year in the land trust survey and whether you think that we should modify our question that we're asking this year or maybe eliminate it. And so we want to get kind of your clear direction on that, depending on how you feel about that survey from last year. Okay, so if no opening initial questions, we'll start with the community priorities. And so the first question is, we always want to start positive and kind of ask, what do people value or like most about Block Island? And this is really their opportunity to kind of share what they like, obviously the most. So we start positive. The second question in this category is really about what are some of the biggest challenges that are being faced today? And now this is a question that was asked somewhat in the survey from last year. And we know from that survey that housing affordability, overcrowding, flooding and sea level rise and loss of character and some environmental factors were rated very high in that survey. So for instance, the housing and affordability rated extremely and very serious. That's over 75% of the takers of the survey last year indicated that. So our question is, and as we ask this question again, is do we include those same issues, or do we have enough information that we know that those are serious? And so let's kind of find out, do we want to modify this question this year and not necessarily include those items, or do we want to make sure that we re-ask and include them this year to see if it's still ranked the same?
Sorry, could I just jump in with a quick question? So you said that this is gonna go out via Survey Monkey. Is there any control on people retaking the survey? Is there any, I'm a little unclear
Yeah.
about benefits
Yeah.
on before we get too deep into this.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's a very common question that we usually get from like a planning board about that. And what we're able to do is through the SurveyMonkey platform, we're actually able to like go through and double check like is it
Like ISP addresses.
ISP addresses. I couldn't think what the initials were.
Yeah.
So we're able to kind of monitor that to see if we're getting a lot of responses from one particular address or so. We do if for instance, we make it available, say at like a library or a school at a terminal, we might be able to like determine that that address is actually that location. Traditionally, we have not, because the survey takes about 15 to 20 minutes to take. We don't usually find that we end up getting people like, kind of trying to stack the deck because it takes some time. However, in addition to like looking at the addresses, we can also take a look at the responses that come back to see if we're seeing like a lot of like duplication or a lot of surveys that maybe are not being answered fully, but only the housing questions are being responded to, and it's the same response. So we are able to analyze that for you and kind of make sure that that's being, woven out, or we try to, we take out those responses if they're not being fully responded to or coming from the same address.
Thank you, that's really helpful. And then follow-up question to that is, I am embarrassed to say, I don't know how the land trust survey went out. Can you speak to that, or what the differences are in terms of how they reached those 131 people versus how you guys are planning to reach people?
I'm sorry, are you just asking like how did they get the word out, and how is it might be different than how we're going to be doing it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I can't really necessarily speak to what was done for the land trust survey. I mean, I think that in the summer report, which I believe is available through the town, it kind of maybe explains that. But we're obviously going to be doing everything that we can. And again, it's not just on our shoulders, it's on all of our shoulders, because we're all like kind of a team effort. Town staff will be helping to get the word out through their email channels. Obviously, we'll be talking with the town manager and the town manager's office to kind of get, figure out what has worked best. We're going to make suggestions based on our knowledge, getting the QR code out, posting it on the website, and then any ideas that you have as the planning board, and also making sure that you get your family and friends to take the survey, and then touch any groups that you're involved with to kind of get the word out. We're open to all those suggestions.
Yeah, I guess the question came from wanting to be better able to answer your question about removing certain questions because they were on the land trust survey. And I just was curious, how our efforts overlap and whether. Because my inclination is somebody just said it's to leave questions in, but I'm curious if other people have other thoughts on that.
I'm concerned about people taking the survey, not having taken the land trust survey, thinking, well, how come you didn't include housing affordability or overcrowding, they're gonna feel that the survey is incomplete.
Right.
I think it's really important to treat this as the comprehensive plan survey. And not to take into consideration the land trust survey, not that we're thinking that it wasn't valid or doesn't hold water, it's just, this is a comprehensive plan survey that. You're gonna be, I think you're gonna need this data instead of trying to look at their.
Right.
I know I didn't do the land trust survey, I think I completely missed it, I'm sorry to say. But I also had a conversation with the town council at one point on our topic, and part of that conversation was about the land trust survey, and one of the council members felt that those numbers were so low, they weren't gonna take it seriously for this.
Okay.
Topic, so it's important, I think, to treat this as our comprehensive plan survey.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that if you do it one way, eliminate the questions, you'll have one kind of concern that comes up, which is why didn't you include this stuff, and is it valid? The other side of it is if you do include the questions, you'll have some people that have survey fatigue and will say, like, we just answered this question, why do we need to answer it again? And people don't need to answer any particular question that they don't want to answer. There's no requirement to answer the survey. So I think the idea of being more comprehensive and including those questions again makes it a little easier to calibrate the responses, so that the responses that you get from today's survey validly sort of include all these different areas, rather than relying on a previous survey to do that. It's
Right.
I guess
I think
statistically it's kind of a little dubious to do that.
I think you wanna have a complete comprehensive survey, and I have high hopes we will have more than 131 people respond.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't think we need to worry about that, about people feeling it's duplicated. If we have a higher number, that means that we're starting fresh, and a year is a long time, people forget.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that the company top people encourage them to do it, and get more responses, and it is a community driven policy document. And Claire said earlier, just make that clear at the beginning.
Can you speak into the microphone a little
Yes,
more
sir.
clear? Sorry.
Like you say, since it is a community driven policy document, just make that clear, as Claire had said at the beginning of the survey, and why it's important that this is done. Like, define what a comprehensive plan to what that is as a tool for the community, so it's understood.
You mentioned survey fatigue, and I wonder, it leads me to ask the question of the board and you all is. Should we have the demographic questions first? Do you live here, do you rent here, do you own here? Is it all of it is as of equal importance, but do we consider it more important to know who's responding to this survey and then find out what their answers are, or vice versa?
It could go either way, but we generally have found that it's better to include the demographic questions, because again, it is going to take, if we don't eliminate any of these questions today, which is fine, because all these are really relevant questions. We do find that some people start to fade off
Right.
as it gets later.
That's
And we really want to know how they feel about traffic and all that. And if we don't end up knowing what their, age was or something like that, then that's fine. So that's why we usually like to put the demographic questions later.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. You can use those questions to kind of cross tabulate a little bit, and it is helpful in that sense, but these sorts of surveys, these sorts of public surveys, it's often difficult to do that in a statistically valid way anyhow. And so the benefit of those questions kind of gets diluted by the fact that you're not operating a survey in kind of a perfect scientific environment. So the anecdotal responses actually end up being some of the most important.
Okay, and then, on that point, when we were talking about,
whether we're going to be not eliminating any questions because of the land trust survey. I wasn't sure that final page where you have the 3 paragraphs. Do we need a notation where we're suggesting that they don't need to answer these questions because they've already answered them in the land trust survey? Do we want to just not even plant that seed?
Take that out.
Right.
I mean, we don't have to do that. We just wanted to make sure that we had a conversation and made acknowledgement with you all about the fact that we were aware of that survey from last year, but then ultimately led, us as a group today to make a determination on if we just go forward, as you're starting to indicate that we should just go forward with the questions, with maybe some modifications based on your opinions, but not make too much attention to the survey from last year, except for that we will acknowledge it in the actual plan itself. And we will kind of use some of those opinions to kind of, add to like what we find out in our survey.
Good, okay, thank you. Yeah, no, I think this conversation has been extremely important to have, so I appreciate the opportunity to review it.
Yeah, and I also felt pretty strongly when we were talking internally that we probably should ask some of these questions again. But again, we wanted to make sure that it's a group decision and that you had were able to share your opinions about wanting to make sure that we re-ask some of these questions, and how we would indicate the survey from last year.
I sort of wonder because, you guys know your community better than we do. You live in it, right? So I wonder if you folks have a sense for what the tolerance for length of survey is. Are people going to get tired of it after 15 minutes and not want to answer more questions because, they have other things to do and it's just too long? Or are they going to be really interested because they, want to support moving the community forward and they really want input on it?
All I can say, I don't really know the answer to that question, but I was wondering, do people have an opportunity to answer a few questions, put it aside and come back to it the next day? Maybe that may, those who don't have the time, but are interested, can do it over a period of time.
I think typically with SurveyMonkey, there is a way to relog in.
I was thinking there wasn't, but we could maybe double check on that, but I was thinking that maybe there's not.
Yeah. I think you're gonna get a lot of people interested in the survey. We have a very large retiree population who are very interested in community activities, and I think they will participate in this.
And people who are very interested in housing, and that's a big part of this too. And then, as one of the boards meetings.
I have to say, I am a little concerned about the timing of the survey for getting people who are working out here in this, posted their period around, this is their busiest season. Having it open July to September is about the most busy time to offer something like this. So if there were ways to extend it into the fall, so people could answer in the fall, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, and we can also potentially indicate that the survey might be available like in a paper copy at like say town hall or something like that. So if somebody is wanting to like spend some time thinking about it or take a couple of days to do it, they might be better off to use like a paper copy that they could pick up and then bring back. That's one way to potentially deal with that. And again, after we go through these questions, we might all decide that there might be one or two that we don't need to ask, which would help make it short. And then the last thing I wanted to say is that, these will be multiple choice for the most part. And, it will be laid out very clean. Like obviously right now, you're not seeing the layout where you're just seeing the question. We tried to indicate like that it would be multiple choice or maybe whether it's like a yes or no. But we're hoping that might also allow for, because there's not as many open-ended questions, that might allow for people to go through it more quickly.
I just want to say that I agree with Claire's point. But I'm not sure if maybe I missed the answer to that, but is there a way to extend it so that people who are going through a busy season right now have an opportunity once the season slows down to do the survey?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, we kind of said like, we're going to launch it, here soon. We're probably going to kind of indicate initially that it's open for like about a month, but that's really just a trick on our part to try to get people to start taking it. But after that month, we'll kind of update the town as well as you, the planning board, as far as how many respondents that we have, and we will all probably agree like let's extend it further into September, and we'll have another round of notification. But we can keep the survey open as long as is desired, even when we get into September. And after we have that first workshop, or even at the workshop, we could have the QR code and people could take the survey at the workshop on their phone if they wanted to. I think at some point we will want to kind of close it so we can kind of, get a full sense of the, all the answers, but we can keep it open for as long as is desired by the town.
Yeah, there's kind of this cost benefit to keeping it open and to closing it down. To keep it open, of course, you potentially gather people's responses that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise if you closed it earlier. On the other hand, if you don't close it, then you're not able. You're at the same time you're trying to pull together draft documents and draft chapters on various subject areas that incorporate the results of the survey. So you delay that process a little bit, or extend it or lag it a little bit sometimes when you leave the survey open. So there's kind of this balancing act. And what I found with other communities a lot of times is that we, at the beginning where we are right now, we don't necessarily make a hard decision about when we're going to close the survey. We see how people are responding to it. And if there comes a point where, interest level, participation is trickling off and we want to close it because we, need to move forward with other parts of the planning process, and you kind of can't have, delayed responses coming in. That you close it down for that reason, but you make a decision when participation really drops off. So we can play it that way too. Like we can play it by ear. We don't have to make a decision right this moment.
Okay, this is the longer we can keep it open in September, I think the better.
Yeah.
If we at least mid to late September, by that time, things do slow down here on the island, and if somebody who's motivated to fill out the survey, certainly would be able to find time. So,
Right. Yep. I think that's what we're suggesting. And then also, just remember that the survey is only one of the tools to kind of get community feedback. It's the initial one, and obviously it is a pretty robust one. But there will be opportunities at the open houses and through the website for people to continue to engage as the process evolves. And that's going to be one of the main focuses of the open houses, is to not only share the survey results and information in the direction that we're heading, but to make sure that we're starting to engage in more detail with folks that show up at those events. And some of those events could also carry over into virtual events through the website as well.
thank you. I think we're would like to go on to look at the questions, because I'm sure all of us have some ideas of things we'd like to either probably have. And I do try to wrap up the meetings by around 6:30, so we'll aim for that if at all possible. So if we could go ahead and start, I think that would be great.
Okay. Yeah, and we kind of did. So Jim, if you could just maybe back up. And I think what we've kind of have heard is that we're not really going to be looking to modify it based on the survey from last year. So I think we just really want to look at the left column. So maybe Jim, yeah, you can scroll over to that. So we'll just look at the left column, and we'll just assume that we want to kind of focus on just the questions that we have developed for you. And then we just want to see if there's any additional selections that we need to make in these, and whether you're okay with the wording of each question, and if you want to proceed with that question, or whether you want to modify it based on our own conversation. So again, the first category is community priorities. And in this one, we start off by asking, like, what do survey respondents value most about the island? And then the second question is, what are the biggest challenges faced, which does include those subjects that were talked about last year. And then the last question in this section, if you scroll down, is just, what do you consider the most important things for the island's future? So are there any
Let's take number one. One question that I wondered if you might want to consider adding would be a very close-knit community. That is something that is highly valued, and I don't know whether that's too specific, because you do talk about neighborhood character, but I did want to bring that up.
okay,
So you're saying go back to the first question?
Yeah, back to why we do the three questions under the first community priorities. And so I thought we'd start with number one. And I thought about adding a close-knit community as one of their options that they can pick. But I want to see what the board feels.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one that's sometimes in there, like, neighborhood friendliness or, close-knit community. I think that's something that could be added.
Okay, anything else anybody has on number one?
Kind of along those lines, I mean, I don't know if it falls under number one or if this is more of a general comment. About including us throughout the survey, but something that I noticed as I was looking through that I thought was missing was something about the investments that our town has been making lately in improving quality of life out here. Through the mini grant program, through the people who, take it upon themselves to provide, especially in much time, but throughout the year, provide healthy recreational opportunities for all ages out here. I feel that is something that our town should continue to promote and support, and I wondered about including, whether it's under one or two values, what they think about Block Island, where you said community, but somewhere in there a question about whether or not people have also noticed that there's that our town has been making that effort.
I'd like to see.
Okay, go ahead, Daniel.
I think we should change that small town and neighborhood character to community involvement, small town community involvement. I don't know what you mean by neighborhood character. I think that might be misconstrued. I'm a realtor, and we always have to be very conscious of terminology and how terminology can be misconstrued. So if that can either be defined better or just changed so we don't have to worry about it.
So I think the small town in that particular, I think that's the second bullet that you're referring to, right? So small town is a modifier for character, so small town character and neighborhood character.
I just don't know what you mean by neighborhood character. I think it's use of a term and it could be misconstrued.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of sort of a planner term. We have these sometimes, that it's referring to just that, there are neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods are they have a particular character, and trying to explain this well.
Is it like small town feel, or
Yeah,
I mean,
neighborhood feel is probably a better word than character.
So maybe neighborhood would be eliminated, and it would just say like small town feel, or is that what you're getting at?
It's more than a feel, it's small town, I'm not sure what it is, it's.
Community involvement covers everything we talk about.
Because some people live in small neighborhoods where all the houses are small, and other people live in a neighborhood where the house next to me is really big. And so what are we defining by character?
Well, when we looked at stuff before, we defined it as a certain style of housing, for example. In my area, you may find it's mostly shingled with a farm feel type thing.
I think just what we want to avoid is I understand that it might be a certain style of housing, but I think it could be interpreted as a certain person. And that's something that we probably want to put.
So do you want to have him take out the second bullet point and change it to community inclusivity to Claire's point? Community involvement? Have him take out small town and neighborhood character and change it to community involvement?
Yeah, that covers a lot.
That's
That covers
okay.
Recreation and all the volunteer work, all the committees.
Right,
This historic character might
We use
take the
it.
place of neighborhood character.
I was gonna say historic character might be appropriate, we do use that a lot. And I think what I'm trying to make sure is that the community would understand the term we're using. Because we know what we're talking about, but we're a planning board. So we say historic character for number 2.
well, historic character's already on the list,
Yes.
so
There
if
we go,
you
we can take this out.
take out small town and neighborhood
Yeah.
and
then
put community inclusivity,
Involved.
involvement, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And then I usually post that community, and I think that's plenty of choices for them to pick from. How does that sound to you? Okay,
Yes.
all right. So Robert and Jim, can you do that, okay?
Yep, that sounds great. Okay, so
Okay. All right,
I guess question number 2.
all right. Any comments on number 2 from anybody?
Yeah,
It's pretty extensive. Okay, Sosha?
I like to see.
Are you able to
all
scroll down, Jim?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't sure if we were going there yet.
I'd like to see the ability to age in place. That's a challenge on this, aging in place. Secondly, tick-borne diseases is a challenge on this island. And third, invasive species.
And delete loss of neighborhood and community character. That same kind of
Yeah.
language that can be misconstrued.
Sorry, I'm just not down all the way.
So I heard aging in place as being a challenge, invasive species as being a challenge, and then there was one other that I didn't quite get.
The tick-borne diseases.
I'm sorry, one more time.
Tick-borne disease.
Plural.
Did you get that, Robert? Something disease?
Ticks, yes.
Oh, ticks. Oh, tick-borne disease. Oh,
Yes.
yep.
Okay.
Go ahead, Renee.
One thing I have not heard in this conversation is there very recently was also a survey for that aging better community or whatever it's called. They have a whole task force on it. So they also did an extensive survey on community priorities. So you might want to consider those answers also and not how many people responded to it. And maybe deciding whether you need to get as deep into some of these things that they got very deep into. I'm just putting that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There is, if you scroll down just a little bit further, Jim, there is like an other category. So it is possible that, you know, if we're not covering every subject, because we are trying to trend closer to the subjects that we can kind of address in the comprehensive plan that are, you know, land use and transportation and housing related. You know, because there are like things related to health and all that we could ask, but those are things that may not be able to be directly impacted by the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I think each one of these questions has an other category, right? So people can sort of fill in the blank if they want.
But
Yeah.
how was the senior citizen topic listed as one of these? Because I think aging in place is a good thing to recognize and what people think about it as another.
Yeah, I don't think the aging in
But
place.
I'm just not sure. I thought I saw it somewhere around here earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I think aging in place is related to, you know, housing affordability and things like that. So
Yeah, it also kind of comes into facilities and services into that chapter.
Okay.
And I did find, I guess, okay, thank you.
Okay, Anything else for number two before we move on?
Yeah, I would maybe change coastal flooding and sea level rise and say aggressive coastal erosion driven by sea level rise, and it's just a little too vague. I think, say coastal flooding and sea level rise, and say what we're really looking at is the challenge of coastal erosion driven by sea level.
So let's see, where was the sea level rise? Was it in question 2 or so? Oh, here
Oh,
it
it's
is.
the third,
Coastal
it's the
flooding.
fourth, but.
Yeah.
Question 2, the
So change that to coastal flooding and erosion. Is that what I heard?
coastal erosion driven by sea level rise, or coastal flooding and erosion.
I thought coastal flooding and erosion. Yes.
Or coastal inundation and erosion driven by sea level rise.
Don't want it too long.
Coastal flooding and erosion.
Erosion.
That's good.
I think that's it.
I think you don't wanna leave out sea level rise, if you need 3 more words in there, then use for the 3 words, it's pretty important subject.
By the way, I did have a thought about number 3. Isn't it most important for the island to be resilient and use the word resilient across all phases that are important? Resilient in health, in terms of economic development. Building up resiliency, I think, is crucial because we're an isolated population.
Well, and to Mary's point, you.
That might work well under question 3, because that's like really what are the next, yeah, under question number 3, it says, what are the, consider the most important? You know, and I think that potentially these get at that, but maybe it could be, you know, resilience, you know, island resilience or something like that.
Yeah, and then we probably ought to define it a little bit because resilience just gets associated so much with, you know, climate resilience. And it sounded like, you know, I heard also economic resilience and various other kind of resilience in there too.
That might be covered though by leveraging tourism for economic growth.
And would it be in number 2 again, would it be an opportunity in infrastructure capacity? You know, listed in quotes water and capacity water sewer, you consider green infrastructure in there too. I think it's very common that we think of things infrastructure.
Yeah.
As something
I mean,
buildings. I think it's important, and maybe that's not that arching behind, but it's important to include green infrastructure in our language.
Yeah, so in question number 2, having
Yeah.
something that says, infrastructure limitations. Is that what you're saying for question number? Oh, it's got we already have infrastructure capacity.
Yeah, you already have that.
And the more I think about it, the more resiliency concept is really what the whole comprehensive plan is about, and that may be better expressed in the introduction. We want to be a resilient community in all aspects.
Since we're still on number 2, do we really want to pinpoint business names in our survey? Airbnb and VRBO, is that necessary? I'm not in defense of them, but I don't know that we should be naming businesses to point fingers at, or to suggest people point fingers at.
That's a good point.
I'd rather see more language of coastal flooding and erosion caused by sea level rise than adding business names.
If you want to keep it short, yeah, take a. Good point.
Is that in question number 2 or 3?
2.
2,
I
third
say
bullet
number
point.
2, it might have been in one additional here, but I definitely saw number 2. It's the third bullet in number 3.
So were you saying to eliminate the third bullet that says the short-term rentals?
No, I'm saying eliminate the business names. So you can keep the short-term rentals, reduce the housing availability, but delete Airbnb, VRBO, and so on.
I'm not sure I understand what the issue
No.
is.
I don't do that.
They want the business names Airbnb and VRBO taken off the bulleted point because they
Oh.
don't feel like businesses should be mentioned.
Okay, so just
Okay,
keep
I'm
it
so
general.
sorry, so sorry.
It's
Now I-
also in question number 5, just because it's gonna come up again.
Okay.
Okay, yep, no, that's totally cool.
Okay. All right. Anything else on 2, or can we go on to 3? Okay. Anything under 3? All right. Okay, let's go on to the next section for housing. I'll let you talk about that, and then we'll go by each individual number.
Okay, so the next category is housing. And for question number 4, you know, what we again, we know that affordable housing is a major issue. So what we were thinking is that we would kind of take a little bit of a deeper dive into not just asking people because we've already heard from like the very first question, like if affordable housing is an issue. So here we want to ask a little bit more specific. So we're asking, you know, what type of housing might be desired for the first question. The second, number 5, is like, what issues about housing concern you the most? And then the 6th question is what should be the top housing priorities for the next 10 years? So it's kind of like looking at, what issues could be maybe make housing easier? What are the biggest issues? And then looking into the future, what direction should we go in with housing? That's kind of the focus of these 3 questions. That will also help us direct like how we approach the housing section of the comp plan.
Again, going back to, I think the social mentioned it, I have a note down here about maybe senior housing or assisted living. We have not really mentioned that anywhere. This might be a good place to put it in. Under number 6.
Yes, somewhere. Senior housing is out here somewhere.
It is, I missed it then. Which is quite possible.
I think the advantage you have here is that you have the word other at the very end, so that people can give creative responses. For example, I would have liked to include allowing people to live in their ADUs year round under the condition that they rent their primary home year round. But it's so specific that maybe that would fall under other.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts on 4, 5, and 6?
Are you on 5 now?
4, either 4 or 5.
Yeah, I have one for number 5.
Okay, number 5.
I'm very concerned about the construction in flood zones. I'd like to see the buildings that already exist in flood zones be protected. More so by variances and ordinances that give them relief in setback and height restrictions. I also like to see new construction in flood zones discouraged.
That question could also be added to the natural resources section.
Okay. That's
Are-
fine.
Are you folks seeing significant construction in flood zones?
No.
No, but we don't want to.
No. Yeah, no, it's kind of, it's regulated pretty heavily, so that's why I was
Okay.
asking. I'd be surprised if it was there.
But we do have a lot of homes in flood zones and near flood zones, which may need increased protection as sea level rises and storm surges get worse.
Yeah, that's a significant issue, I think, for a lot of folks, is that there are existing structures in flood zones, and with sea level rise in particular, and increase in storm, heavy storm recurrence, intense storm recurrence, that those things are becoming more of an issue.
So maybe in 5, we could add a bullet that just says housing impacts from climate change or something like that. Could be
That's a good one.
one of the.
That's fine, go ahead with that, that's good.
Okay, so we'll add that to 5 as one of the housing concerns.
Anything else on 5 before we go to 6? Okay, anything under 6? I did mention senior housing, but that's mentioned elsewhere, that's fine with me. I just want to mention somewhere.
Yeah, so we are, so we'll find a way to like kind of add some like senior housing into potentially 4 and 6.
Okay. That would be good. We do have a very large senior population on that. Okay,
Okay.
all right, let's go on to land use and development, if you will.
Okay, so again, this is one of the major focuses of the comprehensive plan, and we're kind of focused on development. So 7 is again, getting some people's opinions about where future development might be focused, if at all. And then number 8 kind of takes a little bit closer look at like, okay, if there's a development that happens, what type should it be? And we kind of go through a series of like commercial, mixed use, and then different housing. And then question number 9, that's it. So there's just 2 questions and about that. And of course, I do see in number 8, senior housing is included.
Okay, good. Okay, any thoughts on number 7?
I only had one, but I'm not so sure you want to put it there. I think that for all future construction that we are prepared for category 3 hurricanes. And that we use low impact development standards for all construction for the same reason. But I don't know if that's the right place to put it. But
Yep.
Might come up for the natural hazards in the climate change section.
An environment too.
Yeah, so let's hold that thought to that section.
okay.
Yeah, anyone else on 7? How about 8? Any thoughts on 8?
We have,
Senior housing was in the middle column, but not on the left column. Or was it in the next?
It is when you
So-
scroll
So
down.
it's just a little further down. So I'm
Throw it in
gonna
page. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
zoom out a little bit so we can hopefully see it
Yeah.
in context of the question.
Anything else on 8? Okay, I'll go into open space and recreation.
okay, great. So there's actually 4 questions in open space and recreation, and they range from the first one is kind of like, getting a sense of like how often people are using some of the open space and recreation facilities on the island, and then, what are the most important type of amenities in these situations. Then there's a question about the waterfront parcels specifically, and like whether there's strong support for maybe having public access to those shoreline. And then the last one is kind of more of an open-ended question, just to ask people like what kind of improvements they might like to see in open space and recreation.
Yeah, I have a comment because it's still, I felt it was too limited to open space. I'd like to see a question about which recreational amenities would you like to add to the ones that already exist, for example, a pool, a gym, or a larger community center. In other words, I want to broaden the term recreation.
Okay, I mean, we could add them, or people could potentially put them in under the other category in question number 10. But we could, if
Number
there's,
12 covers that.
Hmm.
Number 12 covers what
Yeah, I
you
was
just
just saying,
said.
I think 12.
Yeah, 12
already
does
included
too.
that you would like to see added. It's probably.
But it says related to open space.
And
And
recreation.
recreation.
Okay, take it back.
Okay. Yeah, okay, anything on 9? 10? 11?
Question 11. So, yeah, question 11 is thinking, should the town acquire additional waterfront parcels for islands facing very expensive costs of sea level rise, is, acquiring vulnerable coast parcels?
There's a no.
Not-
Yeah.
Just seems funny at what easement, when the bigger problem is. Should we acquire
or protections. But I think I think part of markets.
I gather they're referring to the recent purchase of waterfront land, and do we want to see more of the town's money going towards additional parcels should they ever come up for town relation? I mean, that's where my mind automatically went.
Yeah, but I thought it was strange that said, it specifically says to expand public access to the shoreline.
Mhm. Right, to give more opportunity to get to shore.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Because it's town property.
Right, by a right of way or something along that line.
Right. I understand that, so. That question.
Sorry, I'm having to move my location because I'm about to lose my power on my laptop, so sorry.
It's
So-
not like required any more important things like. Mobility.
But Claire had an interesting question, where did this question come from?
Mhm.
Is it from another survey? Was there another survey with this question on it?
I guess my other question is, do we even need it?
Yeah, I feel like ultimately that was my question, this one didn't seem like, yeah, just the most important question to ask people, but I didn't know if it came. From a staff member or someone.
Jim, I'll be right back, okay?
Yeah. You know where number 11 came from? Who?
Where number 9 came from?
No, 11.
11. Okay, that's what I thought we were talking about. No, I don't. Robert may, but I'm not sure if he can hear us at the moment because he's having power issues. So we can ask him about if he knows where 11 came from
I think it
specifically.
came from the state, frankly, because I remember the state being, pointing this out to us, that we need to increase access or make sure there's, adequate access.
Okay, we can skip 11 and come back to that.
I would say, if we're looking to eliminate ones, this one was. Yeah,
Would be a good one to eliminate.
I'm a little curious if it's related at all to access to like, the docks.
Yeah, if I can
Lofts.
add something, Margie, I don't believe this question came from staff, at least at this moment. Robert, again, may know where they pulled the question from or if they made it up. But I do know in the previous comp plan and then subsequent conversations has been sort of lamenting the town's lack of access to waterfront facilities, both in New Harbor, which we addressed somewhat with the Sanpete Meadows acquisition, and in Old Harbor, the fact that the town has very little waterfront access. To me, public access is a little bit different, but I think of this question as working waterfront type access.
At least it sounds that way to me.
And if
Yeah,
if
I
I had
agree.
to guess without Robert being here, since there's a no change in the second column, it seems like it may have come from the built survey results. Or from the built survey, excuse me.
Okay,
Could we potentially change the language to include working waterfront?
Sure.
Is that something that everyone
Yeah.
agrees would be helpful for interpretation?
yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. Anything else on 11? All right, let's go on to 12, which is actually kind of a comment type thing, so I don't think we need to do anything with that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're back to you, we can do natural, cultural, and historic resources.
Yep. So there are several questions here. As Robert's getting on, I'll keep moving through this a little bit. 13, how important are the following environmental priorities to you? And it lists several. Number 14, what environmental concerns are you most worried about? And again, listing several. How important is preserving Block Island's historic buildings and characters? 16, types of cultural or heritage activities and improvements you would most like to see. And then that's the end of that category. So 4 questions in total there.
Okay, anyone with comments on number 13? 14,
Water bottle quality, I just wanted to be sure you mentioned salt source aquifer, see that.
And I should say we were proposing, I believe, to eliminate 13 and 14.
But that was only can everybody hear me again? I'm so sorry
Yeah.
about that. But that was only if we were not going, if we were
Right, because we
on
were
the-
trying to include
yeah,
the
like-
golf stuff.
right.
now, right?
Exactly.
yeah, I don't think the committee, looking at this here, I don't think we're interested in cutting out 13 and 14, am I correct?
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so
Okay.
do not cut it out.
Whatever you're done with, it's probably.
I would like to add. The management of open space is a concern, at least it is to me. Because when people sign a contract with some kind of conservancy. And in that contract, it states that a piece of a parcel of property or land has to remain as is. It doesn't, and later on invasive species start to creep in. Or the deer start to use their property to hide from all the hunters. It becomes problematic.
I disagree with you, I don't think that's our purview, I think that whoever is managing that has to work with that, not us. Okay. In other words, Nature Conservancy, you have to manage their properties, Land Trust has to manage theirs, so it's true. And those are the 2 biggest landowners. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on those? So let's see, you're up to 16. 14.
14, just wondering why we didn't.
Did I miss 15?
Sorry, I'm still stuck on 13. 14.
Okay, I mentioned 13 and 14, so let's, right?
Just, it seems like we're missing a few things, like sole source aquifer, you do say that water body or quality. Therefore, close to an ocean, maybe that's fine. Rare habitat and preserving ecological integrity and TNC does a lot of work with rare habitat and ecological integrity. It's on 13 and 14, coastal protection, beaches and shoreline, yes, open space preservation. Yeah, water body quality. Do you want to use the word sole source aquifer, water quality here?
Yeah, because you don't necessarily need coastal, you could add,
Right,
because you have freshwater, ocean.
and. Right, you can say. Yeah, aquifer,
Right,
yeah.
because the ocean is very, very clean here, and it is something that I boast about all the time, because it's important to a lot of people, and we just need to. Keep that, yes, aquifer would be.
That stands out very well.
Okay, can you make those changes?
I want to clarify what they are. So for 13, I think we're adding aquifer and groundwater protection or something to that effect.
Yes, and you could, so you have space, you can take out the word coastal under water body quality.
Okay.
Because you have freshwater and ocean.
Yep. And so I'm wondering, Robert, number 13, we don't have an other category there, and I'm not sure. Oh, that's because this is, well, do we want to include another category and then have people be able to rate it very important, important, somewhat, etc.?
I think everybody really values the preservation of the.
We could look into that.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
Okay,
Yeah,
I think groundwater and aquifer protection are a good one to add.
definitely.
And, nature conservancy, for protecting rare habitat.
And then we would do the same thing to 14, add groundwater aquifer to that one as well. Okay.
And does that fall under water quality? You're just adding it to that?
We could add it to water quality, or it could be a separate item. I don't think there's a harm
Yeah.
in having an extra one.
I think it's like an extra, because water quality, I think is kind of related to like stormwater, like runoff.
I think a lot of people tend to think of water quality as being surface water
I
quality.
think it is
Yeah.
total water, yeah, wells.
Yeah, water quality, I thought it was what kind of water you get out of your well. Maybe we gotta, well, quantify that in some way.
Yeah, was it Jim, what did you say you thought water quality was?
What did I say?
One
That,
of you, I'm sorry, I'm getting the names mixed up.
yeah, no, we might have said some stuff kind of roughly at the same time. I was saying that when people see water quality, I think a lot of times they think it's referring to surface water quality and not necessarily inclusive of groundwater or aquifer quality. So you'd want to have those two things separated, two items.
Yeah, I think they should be on that list.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll add that.
okay, anything else on 14? Okay, let's move on to 15. I don't think that we have any comments on that one. And 16. We have nothing on 16, okay. I guess we're ready for the next section, natural hazards and.
Okay. Yeah, so there's 3 questions in this section, 17, 18, and 19, obviously, and then this is where we kind of get into the concerns about climate change and natural hazard. And I know there were some ideas that people had earlier. I guess kind of if you can confirm whether you think they should be added here or whether we're covering them. And there is 18, it would be an open-ended question, so this would give people an opportunity to kind of list more stuff that they may be concerned with related to natural hazards and climate change impacts.
I might offer one thing on 17, which is that we should add heat island effect in there. And I know a number of people have brought up invasive species, and that's a bigger concern as the climate changes too. So I'd add that in there as well.
Okay, that sounds great.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, anything else for either 17 or 18? Okay, if not, we'll go to 19.
Yes.
Okay, Tosha, go ahead.
And I know the town is already in the process of looking for a resilience officer, but this person will be part-time initially. I'd like to recommend that we hire a full-time resilience officer. I also would like to recommend that we conduct an island-wide risk assessment. This is all related to sea level rise and storms and whatnot. I also like to add that we amend our zoning laws accordingly. And I'm saying accordingly because I don't want to be specific.
How are those added to this though?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how you put that in there? I don't think, know if that fits.
It makes us more resilient to climate change.
Right, but is it part of a comprehensive plan or is it a topic in the survey?
The comprehensive plan makes suggestions. And hiring the officer is a suggestion, an island-wide risk assessment is a suggestion. The
An
zoning
amend.
laws is a natural outcome, I suppose.
Amend zoning ordinance might be a good one to add. But then maybe the other category might be able to catch some of those other ideas.
As long as they get someone.
But they're a suggestion to get put in the plan, so they would be for people to put in the other box so that they can see it to put into the plan. Because that's what the survey is for. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in the survey. It just people have to know to answer it in the
Yes,
survey.
But I think what other? I think,
Zoning ordinances, if they have somewhere to put it, yeah, but
zoning ordinance, that is the way. I think the others should come from people and they can write that under others. But do you agree with the zoning going in?
What number?
This would be number 19.
So-
Zoning ordinances.
So for the zoning, this zoning also overlaps with land use, and I didn't know if you wanted to be very specific about the zoning amendment here to be related to climate change issues or resilience.
Yeah, I think that's what we would
Yes,
add to that,
yes,
Jim. We would
absolutely.
say like amend the zoning ordinance for climate related subjects or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, something along that line. For number
Okay.
9. Okay, anything else for 19?
Okay, the next three questions are related to transportation, circulation, and mobility.
Question about 19.
Okay,
The word protecting shoreline environment is strange. Protect.
I don't know, I like that.
what's the question?
I just found the word in number 19. I think it's one. The word for adult print. Is there protecting shoreline and waterfront areas? Better way to see that? Most people understand that you're. Would be to implement targeted
preserving,
nature-based solutions.
preserving.
Preserving.
So instead of protecting shoreline and waterfront, it's like preserving shoreline and waterfront. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but then you get confused with preservation, or. I mean, what, I was
Just not sure, I'm not sure the word.
what is the intent though?
Do you wanna say strengthen?
It is a,
Feels like you're protecting it from some artillery, nothing you're protecting it with a whole wall. But the word protecting is strong in that way.
Well, like a lot of people are actually going through these, revetment projects, that could be considered protection of the shoreline. Are those, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying is that it would make them more resilient. The climate change, not really, defining the time. I don't know, maybe I'm starting at some point, it's not that significant. Yeah.
I don't, I can't think of another word that would be better.
well, I guess, are you curious about asking people about those projects? Or you're on the shoreline law, you're, or are you trying to make that question more about the survey? Shoreline and waterfront areas, so there is a development right there. Cause I get, if your question is that protecting is ambiguous, I agree with you. Yeah, there are a lot of those projects coming up that people are rejecting. Yeah, and but I could see also reading that as conserving land along the shoreline.
Implement nature-based solutions, implement.
That's true. Or something like protecting shoreline and waterfront areas from coastal erosion, that to me would space more like we're asking about these projects are like what, how much I think it's a question.
Yeah, just stop a little bit.
Yeah.
You could be more specific in that.
And you have below it preserving open space and natural buffers, and sure covers that already, so. Yeah, that's.
All right, repeat it again so that they can hear it.
Instead of finish that off with protecting shoreline and waterfront areas from coastal erosion.
You ever done that in the?
Yeah.
To me, it's like, you want to implement some. Nature-based. Protection of the shoreline. I guess the word protecting to me makes me think of. Not a nature-based solution, but a hard.
Right, ultimately, we don't, the Coastal Resources Management Council are the.
Define
They're
word.
the define, yeah, they're the ones who define what people can and can't do. So I guess if the question is to instill the thought of trying to create more nature-based. Protecting solutions or protection solutions, I guess we just needed. I need to hear more clearly from you what you like the language to read so they could implement it.
How about promote nature-based solutions to protect. Shoreline and waterfront areas.
I think one suggestion that I might make is that in some cases, we might be getting a little bit too specific, and like, because some folks might not know what nature-based solutions means. But what we could do is, like, knowing that this is an area of great interest, is once we get the survey results at one of the upcoming open houses, we could take a deeper dive into it, and we could talk about that, protecting shoreline and waterfront areas was a high priority, and then we could maybe talk about what various different solutions there are and get people to maybe prioritize them. And that might be where we might be able to talk more specifically about nature-based solutions and what that means. And what type of nature-based solutions might be desired, if that's at all helpful.
Okay, yes, that is helpful. Good. Okay, we're on to transportation and circulation, and any questions? Any changes? We're number 20,
What, that's funny.
21,
Yeah, one, a small one. Moving to sidewalk maintenance, I would add plus availability. In other words, it's not just maintaining the sidewalks, but we need more of them. Is my opinion.
Okay,
so we could say additional sidewalks and sidewalk maintenance.
yeah,
Do that,
Yeah.
okay.
okay? Anything else?
You wanna add to the mental moped and scooter safety? Electrics. Bikes, what are they, electric scooters?
He's got scooters,
Scooter on there.
his scooters are already on there.
Oh, sorry.
I see what it's not.
The other thing that occurred to me, I'll throw this out, do you think we need to do anything about all the golf carts that we're seeing this year? Is that a problem or not? I don't have enough experience really to know, I'm not downtown enough, but I know I've seen a lot more, the golf carts this year than we've had previously.
I say that what I've seen is a lack of off-cart safety by the operator. Too many people in them, children that aren't buckled in. That's not child fall out of home. The music very loud and then, how that behavior would fit into this.
What about, regulations of golf carts?
You could do rental car and low speed vehicle safety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, that's like a new bullet point for 21.
Yeah.
Rental car and low speed.
Vehicles. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay,
Speed is such an issue.
okay, so we'll add that as one of the categories.
Speed on the roads.
Mhm.
Okay,
Right, anything on 22? Right, well. 23, there's a services and facilities, so.
right, and we have there's two questions in this category that are related to town services and facilities. Any-
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I wasn't going to, just,
I was a little unsure of what you mean by public service. For example, I believe our medical center is a private organization, but it services the public, as is, I believe, water or sewer.
They're town entities.
Yeah, but they're separate,
But they're private.
same as the library.
Yeah, but they're run separately, but they are responsible to the town, so they are, I believe they are a town entity. The town hires the,
They are town entities.
yeah, thank you.
So then in that case, I'd like to add our medical care as to be rated,
So medical is a town,
the medical center. That, you know, there's rate their services.
Now the school, so.
Well, if you're gonna put medical services in, we could certainly put schools in it.
Yeah. There's a lot of public services then.
Mhm.
Okay.
That wouldn't be difficult to do.
Mhm.
Okay, can you
Okay.
add those, so add those two in if you would under 23.
yeah, yep, that sounds good. Yeah,
Okay.
not sure how we missed the schools, but thanks for, that's why we're talking to you about it.
Well,
But medical center is a unique one, but that's good to know.
okay, under 24, anything?
No.
Okay.
All right.
And we get to the last question of the, that's not about you. And technically there's two here, but the 126 technically is going to be something that we're going to move to into the demographic questions, because that's really just asking if people want to supply their email address. But really the main question here is 25, which is an open-ended question, just where it gives people the opportunity to kind of like, what's their vision? And you know, this will be a good question because we'll get a lot of different answers, but in the results, we'll kind of tag them and share them with you so that we can kind of maybe do like a word cloud type of response back to you for in the review of the answers, so that you get a sense of what the common vision statements were and items.
Sorry to harp on this again, but I'm wondering if anyone else is feeling like number 27 should actually be one of the first questions that's asked. I'm just a little bit concerned that even where it says demographic questions, placed at the end so that if residents drop off, only demographic data is lost. That just seems like demographic data is important and shouldn't be lost. Even if it's just that question 27. What do you guys think about that?
Could be worded differently. Encourage people to fill that out, because it's important.
Well, that language probably is gonna be on the survey itself, but that's what was my question was, how does everybody feel about the demographic part being last? And their experience is that that's what's traditionally done, but what do we think?
I think we live in a unique community where the demographic question actually matters a lot. Because we're prioritizing things and people's priorities change. They live here year round first now.
I mean, we could just move question 27, like that could be the only one that gets moved up first if that's most important. So that could be the first, but then we'll kind of have these other demographic questions at the end.
Yes.
We could do that.
Yeah, I think that would be great, and I think that would allow us to be able to cross-reference who's answering these questions.
Well, we'll do that regardless of whether it's up front or near the end, but we could, you know, since this is so important, we could move 27 up to the first question, and then, you know, just kind of get into it, but then have more of these about you or demographic questions at the end. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, that would work for us. Yeah.
Is this the right time to ask a question on number 36? Is that still demographic, right?
If we go to, when I go to 29.
Well, let me just, as long as we've got questions, let me just run through. We've taken care of 27, anything on 28? That's pretty easy, 29.
29, this is a question, makes me think that fuel, how much of the year to live on Long Island year round between 6 and 12 years? 12 months per year, 6 months per year, fewer than 3 months. It makes me wonder how someone might not just say more there. And I would like to live for a long term, for example, but I have to move out of my house, so I can rent it and afford maybe mortgage on it, and I think it might be interesting to take advantage of question number 9 to ask, how much of the year do you live on Waka Island? And do you leave? I don't know, just feel like you just have your leave for this, financial things for 3 months out of the year. Or is that too much detail? Is it better in that question just to have those 4 options?
You could have a separate question, what prevents you from living on Block Island year round, and then give choices.
It's partially number 30.
Right.
Yeah, it's right, how much of the year do you live on Block Island?
Expand on that, yeah, I think that's a better place for it, 30. Would you feel like, is that? It feels like an opportunity to see.
That's an interesting.
If,
It is.
to consider like, a little bit. Even if you just have the option on 30 to say other or more reasons. I don't know how to word that.
If Fred, how much of the year do you live on Block Island?
Variable for financial reasons.
Why don't you just put the word why after that?
I was thinking that too. Yeah.
Oh, why?
That's a shortcut.
How much of the year do you live on Block Island? Why?
Exactly.
I like that.
And then that way you can say, because of my job, because of my rent, because of money.
Right.
Or add an explanation.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good.
All right, is that okay with everybody?
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Okay, so that's,
Oh.
you got the notes on number 30?
So I think, well, the one thing I just wanted to mention is that for question number 28, if you say own, you'll just get question number 29. You won't get question number 30. If you say rent, then you'll get question 30, because you see why, like,
Yes.
so that they won't get both of them. But what you're asking is that in addition to asking them like how, like what their time frame is at the bottom of that question, you want us to add something that says why.
Exactly.
Okay.
Why?
Now I'm only being funny or sarcastic here, but I have a feeling that some people might say none of your business. But we could still potentially put why if you want.
It's just an open-ended question, right?
It'd be interesting to know the answer.
No, I agree, why is abrupt?
Yes.
Would you like to explain, well, would you like to elaborate?
Or something like, well, you wish it were different. Why? Unless, you know, if you was.
Well, that's a nice way to put it.
Feel free to provide an explanation.
Would like to say more if you could afford it?
Yeah.
So would you like to explain why?
Figure out a nice polite way. to
Yeah,
say
we'll figure out some way to say it. Okay, but we'll add that as
it.
like
I just think
an,
it would be very interesting.
And it doesn't have to be just what you can afford, it may be a preference.
Right.
right.
But-
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea.
Could be a lot of reasons. Okay, all right, let's go on, number 21.
You mean, 31?
I'm sorry, 31, yes, thank you. 31 and 32 kind of go together, you answer one or the other.
Oh yeah, and that's right. And 31 and 32 will then you'll only get one of those
Yes.
depending on whether you said you own or you rent. So again, you won't get all of these.
And then 33, 34.
And 33 and 34 are connected as well. If you say that you work on the island, then you'll get this second question to ask how long.
Great.
Okay, so some of these questions, everybody, you won't get all 11 of them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay,
Okay, and then 35 is self-explanatory.
Are we allowed to gather data from kids?
Are you allowed to what?
Gather data from children under 18?
I'm not aware of not being able to.
And I don't know how many you're gonna get doing the survey, but you could get some.
Yeah, I mean, some families take it and then like each person in the household kind of does it. Or like if it's at the school.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had towns in the past where we're helping them out with a comp plan or a master plan or something. Specifically, like a teacher will kind of grab a hold of it and work with the kids on going through some of these questions and having them involved in the workshops and, you know, what their ideas are for a comprehensive plan going forward. And it's kind of a neat youth engagement thing. So, you know,
Okay.
it is a possibility.
Be eliminating these, do we need 36 and 37? I mean, do people really answer the question of what their income bracket is? In surveys?
Sometimes, I mean, they can, but again, it says do not, prefer not to, but again, you know, we're just putting them out there as a possibility, and if you would prefer not to ask that, or you don't think that will be valuable, we can certainly not include them.
My question is, I don't know that I'm rating value, but if we're trying to eliminate questions, those are two that I don't know that are relevant, I agree. But that's just on my thought.
Okay. Well, just let us know.
Yeah, I don't know, I don't see that it's a problem, it takes no time at all to answer. True.
And they could just say do not.
And if they don't wanna talk, you've given them prefer not to answer for both of them.
Yeah.
So I think that's. When we correlate something, we may find that a certain amount of income makes certain decisions, they have to, go with on, which you can apply to, other answers. And then, on the notes at the back, any comments on that?
Yeah, these notes are,
I just thought we should eliminate the third.
Yes, I think that we don't need that in here.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jim or Robert.
Just
I
a
was just,
question.
I think Amy has a question.
Yeah, Margie, do you mind if we go back to 35, the age question? I'm wondering if the board has any appetite for making another category. I feel like 65 and over is a really big group for us.
Okay, that's a very good, that's a very good point.
You know, do we make another break at 80 or 85, or is that an irrelevant question?
We could do 65 to 80, and then last category that's 80 plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would, so I said, that's a good point, Amy, and we all know at least, what, a third or more of the population is 65 or older.
Or even 65 to 75.
Yeah, I was thinking, you follow kind of along what you were doing is you do 65 to 74 and then 75 and older.
Great.
But, anyway, I don't-
Okay, that sounds great. Good suggestion, thanks. And then the notes that are at the very end are really just for our discussions here.
Okay.
So,
That's fine.
yeah,
Then we need to go back to number 11. We did not finish that.
Number one,
No, 11.
11. Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
I didn't. That's my job. Okay, number 11. It's,
I think we did clarify what we're adding to number 11. Which is the waterfront question.
no, this is strongly support. And I think we were gonna find out from Jim how he wants to word it,
Or where the question came from.
or where the question came from, is the other thing.
Yeah, I think it was that. So, Robert, we were wondering if you happen to know where 11 came from. Was it from a previous survey? Was it something that we had penned ourselves, or you know, some other source?
I mean, I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think that it came from like looking at the existing comprehensive plan, and I think there was some issues about that, or maybe also from the land trust survey. But I think there was some discussion in the existing comprehensive plan about public access points, and I think we were thinking that there may be a desire to find out more about that. But again, if the planning board currently does not feel that this is going to be a major issue, we could eliminate this question.
Although I think Bangs had brought up a good point of adding verbiage that covers working public access.
Yeah, I think this is a topic that was brought up at the last town council meeting from the harbors department, correct? Where there isn't adequate access to working. Yeah, so just knowing that other groups are talking about this, I think it's probably.
Yeah, it's been an ongoing topic for years now.
Yeah, I would probably say to expand access to Bark Island's shoreline and working on something like that.
Fine, let's add at the end, working waterfront. Okay. Okay, did you get that clear suggestion?
Not completely. Can you kind of
Okay.
clarify?
To expand public access to Block Island's shoreline and working water.
And working waterfront, is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So it's just adding and working waterfront at the end.
That's correct.
Okay.
Last chance, any other thoughts or concerns? Okay. Anything else, either Jim or Robert, you want to make before I make a motion to approve this for publication?
No, I mean, I thank you so much for, going through the survey with us so that we could in fact get it, potentially wrapped up, and then, we'll, and we can kind of get it out, and we'll be coordinating with the town staff, and then they will be kind of notifying you of like when it's going to be going live so that you can help us get the word out.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the community survey questions as amended. Second. Okay, any further questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you guys very much. This was
Great, thank
a
you.
very productive session, and we will enjoy working with you over the next year or so. So thank you very much for hanging in there with all of our thoughts and concerns. Appreciate it.
No, we're looking forward to it too, and we
Yeah.
appreciate the involvement and interest in making this right, so.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Good, thank you. Have a good evening. Okay.
Okay.
So for Amanda, because there was a lot of time they had a really hard time hearing us.
Mhm.
I don't know if
We'll
my
review it.
phones are off, but they'll review it. to
We'll
make sure
review it.
everything's covered.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome, thank you.
do that.
A great idea.
Yeah, I think it's okay, but it's also all on tape, so you can go back and look at the tape if necessary. And people have a chance to read minutes until I roll them over till next month.
And I didn't mean that in a derogatory manner, I just know the microphones can be funny, funky, and not always function the way we think they are, so thank you.
No, I think they've already gone off.
Oh,
Okay.
they're frozen.
Okay.
No, well, they do here, now I guess they can hear us, okay. If people have a chance to read the minutes,
No.
you wanna take a chance and read them right now, or you want me to adjourn and we'll read them next week? I'm not, sorry.
I still reading that. I don't,
How about we just roll it over till next month? Is that acceptable to everybody?
oh yeah.
Who's making a motion?
Well, we can make a motion to approve this next month.
No, table.
I'm sorry, you're right. I move the table the minutes until next month after we have a chance to read them.
Seconds.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Motion carries. I make a motion with the meeting be adjourned. And thank you guys for hanging in there.
Yeah.
We're not much.
We'll
Thanks for
see you
having us.
next, we'll see you soon. Okay, thanks a lot. Take the survey.
Thank you guys, appreciate
Get
you
the-
hanging in there.
Get the word out about the
Thanks for
survey.
coming.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, take care, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye, have a good night.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, thank you.